Welcome to another episode of Lavish Anthology. If you enjoy this type of content, then subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you never miss out on any of our latest and greatest uploads. If you've ever wondered what life is like behind the scenes for the ultra-rich, don't worry, we've got you covered. In these viral Reddit threads from a while back, people who work for the super wealthy are spilling secrets about what their experiences were like with them, what rich people spend their money on, and how wildly different some of them actually live. Here are some of the most fascinating and shocking responses. 1. An old high school teacher of mine is an extremely successful private tutor, and he does a lot of work in the wealthy neighborhoods in the area. Once, he was tutoring a kid and helped him get prepared and passed his college-level physics class. At the end of their last session, the kid told him to wait there and went into his dad's office and came out with his payment and an extra $1,000. My teacher tried to refuse it, saying that it was too much, but the kid said that his dad asked him to give it as a tip. 2. I used to work for an Arab billionaire son, a daddy's money guy, and terrible, garbage human being. Once, I saw him spend $16,000 on a wallet, a fancy one with little gold spikes on it and stuff. He had shoes with gold on them. One year for his birthday, he received like 30 plus cakes, big, fancy cakes, and he told us to leave them on the floor in the hallway outside his room. We walked by those cakes every day for 2 weeks waiting for instructions, and after the 2 weeks, we were just told to throw them away. My dad works in shipping and has a lot of friends who have worked on super yachts. In the 90s, one of his mates got a call to bring the yacht of a particular Australian media tycoon billionaire, not that one, from Sydney to New York, with instructions to be anchored in a particular bay at an exact time, with a lunch spread for 50 people ready. So they got there, set up the food, and the guy never showed up. Turns out, he was having a rich dude party in a building overlooking the harbor, and he just wanted to be able to point down and say, "That's my boat." He wanted the lunch in case he decided to take his rich friends down to his yacht, but he didn't feel like it that day. So all the food got wasted, and they sailed back to Australia without seeing him. 4. I was a bank teller and have 2 stories here. The first, a person my age, about 20, came in. He was a delight, and he came in once a year to take his trust, which was $100 million, and take the interest out, about $48,000. Once a year, that's all he lived off. He was content and modest. I loved it. The second, a girl came in with her mom. She actively whined at me for 10 minutes about how unfair it was that her mom had all this money in her account and was making her live in poverty, with all her university fees paid, her rent and car covered, as she was only getting a tiny payment of $5,000 a month. She couldn't fathom surviving off of that. The mother turns to me and says, "Well, I don't know. I thought that would be enough to live off. Should I give her more?" I meekly said, "That's $60,000 a year. I make $20,000 a year. I am going to college full-time, and I have a baby on the way." They both got really quiet and left. Never saw either of them again. 5. I briefly worked with one of the top Saudi Arabian crown princes in the 80s. He would buy out the top 3 floors of the best hotels, 4 Seasons, etc. 2 floors were for maids/help/security, and the top floor was for the royal family. Once, it was only the prince and his 3 wives. Wild. 6. I used to do some financial work for someone who became very wealthy through their very popular chain of surf gear. I had run through their tax position and found a way for them to save a little over $2 million in taxes a year by reshuffling some of their entities. It would have taken them around an hour to sit down and change everything. Lots of signatures on paperwork, and then maybe an extra hour of their time a year to administer. Their response? "Nah, I don't want to waste that much time with paperwork. That's what I pay you guys for." 7. I nannied for 2 upper-class social ladder climber families. The first family was awesome. They paid me to accompany them to Disney World in case they wanted me to watch the kids one evening while they could have dinner. They ended up buying me all the alcohol, and we got ridiculously wasted in Epcot and in our rental house almost every evening. They even paid me my salary while on the trip. They were very generous and sweet, and I miss them and their kids a lot. The second family wasn't as well off, but still fairly wealthy, and they were awful. I'd get passive-aggressive notes about not doing laundry correctly. The kids were bratty and they made comments about how I made the beds wrong. They underpaid me to not only nanny, but do light housekeeping, which turned into cleaning all 4 levels of their home every day. They basically treated me like an appliance and had no regard for my time. I had several late nights, etc. It was super uncomfortable. 8. I used to work for a company that modified aircrafts for really rich people. I'm talking 747s, not Gulfstreams. This company had made several aircrafts for this one customer, who purchased a new one solely because his spiritual advisor had told him that one of his current planes was bad luck. He still let his wife use it for her personal travel. To me, one of the most exquisite features of these planes wasn't the gold-plated everything or rare wood veneers. It was the silk carpet. That stuff cost over $1,000 per square foot and feels like walking on a bed of angel feathers harvested in the most inhumane way possible. Granted, these guys don't deck out the whole plane, just their personal areas. The aft third is usually reserved for staff and such, and is more like a fancy economy class. But yeah, silk carpet. 9. I used to work for a composer who is worth around $100 million. In general, he was a really nice guy and genuinely hilarious. Sometimes he would be in a really bad mood and lash out at people, specifically when it came to preparing food for him. One guy got chewed out for handing him a can of Coke by holding on to the top of it rather than around the side. And one specific incident that sticks out was when somebody got a whole lobster for his dinner and set it out on the table. Our boss hadn't come out to eat it for hours, and it was probably around midnight at this point. So the kid just sat down and started eating. What do you know? Big Boss comes into the dining room to eat his lobster and sees an intern sitting down at the table, wearing a bib, eating his super expensive, now cold lobster dinner. That kid didn't come to work anymore. 10. When rich people want to buy a Jaguar in the UK, they get assigned a special salesperson who is incredibly knowledgeable, meet in a special fancy office, and special arrangements can be made. This was my friend Chris's job. He had access to things that a normal Jaguar salesperson wouldn't have. Once, a Saudi prince wanted to buy a new Jaguar that hadn't been released, so they met up and spent a full day speccing the Jaguar out. The final price was like 125,000 euros for the vehicle. The factory had 16 different color options for this model, and the prince asked if he could sleep on it because it was getting late. So they set a time to meet tomorrow. The next morning, he decided to just order one of each color. They quoted delivery time. The prince agreed, and he was presented with ocean travel options, to which he said, "What about air cargo?" In the end, 16 of the same Jaguars in different colors ended up being loaded on a plane and flown to Saudi Arabia, and the total cost was around 2.5 million euros. And with that, we've reached the end of this video all about the secret lives of the ultra-rich. Secrets revealed by workers of the rich. If you enjoyed this video and found it interesting, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this.